Hey everybody, it's Justin from Built, and I just got a brand new dust collector. I'm very, very excited to get it all hooked up with everything. But it made me start thinking, let's do a video on the progression of dust collection. I, like everybody else, started off with just a miter saw and a shop vac hooked up to it, which is not the best dust collection solution. And I've gotten all the way up now to a professional level machine. And so I want to explore that, look at the pros and cons of these different machines, and specifically focus in on the health. We all know that breathing in sawdust is bad. It can cause health problems. And I got bad news from a doctor about that this year. It's not cancer. We'll talk about it in the video. But it has definitely given me a very serious focus on, hey, I need to change my behavior here in the shop. I need to wear my PPE. And I've invested in better dust collection solutions that will keep the air cleaner here in the shop, as well as functionality that's going to make it so that it's always ready to use all the time, because if it's easy to use, you will use it. If it's hard to use, you won't. So let's get into the world of dust collection today on Built. This video is going to run a little bit long. I'm trying to give you as much info as I can. So I put chapter markers, I put title cards with information on what each section will be about, and it will also be in the description below, so you can jump around if you want. So let's get the bad stuff out of the way. I had a CAT scan on my lungs 4 years ago. They were clear. I had a CAT scan this year. They were not. I had 2 nodules on my lungs. I'm not a doctor. As it has been explained to me, you can get that naturally from having severe chest colds and things, but you can also get those from inhaling foreign material like sawdust, and then your body scars over that material as a protectionary measure. So now I have to go to the doctor every year. I have to check on it. If it gets any bigger, then it's a big concern. If it stays the same, then it's fine. But any sort of news like this from your doctor, you take seriously. You take stock in what you do and what you need to do. So for me, I definitely am very good at wearing my PPE. I have many, many different forms of PPE here in the shop. And so I use it when I'm sanding, when I'm at the table saw and whatnot, but not the rest of the time. And that's a problem, because even the best dust collectors on the planet cannot capture all of the dust that is created by a machine. What it sucks in, it can do a really good job with, but it doesn't suck everything in. A lot of stuff gets into the air itself and will stay there for a very, very long time. If you haven't been in your shop for like a week or two and then you come out and there's a fine layer of dust all over everything, that's what it's from. So I went out and bought a air quality meter. I've been using this quite a lot. And I have not used a saw or a sander in a week. I really haven't even been in the shop that much in a week because I have other stuff going on. And so 3 days ago, I tested the air quality in here. It was 9 parts per million. Right now, I'm at 3.4 parts per million. So days after I used my equipment, there were still a lot of particles hanging out in the air. So the first thing that I have changed for me is I am now wearing at least some sort of comfortable dust mask in the shop, as much as I possibly can tolerate. So while I'm using my machines that really cause this stuff, I might even go all the way up to a full face respirator. I don't know, I might be crazy on that. But the rest of the time, I'm still at least gonna try and take some certain precautions to help protect myself from getting any bad news. I don't want you guys to get any bad news like this. So if you have any recommendations on a very comfortable face covering when you're out in the shop, put it down in the comments below. I'd love to. I'll probably do a video on a whole bunch of different stuff pretty soon. But if it's very comfortable, you're more likely to use it as much as possible, and thus, help protect yourself. All right, let's start our dust collector progression. While, of course, from a health perspective, every single person should have a $10,000 amazing industrial grade dust collector, 99.9% of us can't afford that. It's just not realistic. So most people are going to start off with your Wed Dry Vacs solution. This is the most affordable dust collection option out there. They come in many form factors, many power levels. They will range from $35 up to several $100s for one of these units. They are incredibly noisy, almost to a pitch that can be annoying to most people. They produce high pressure, but they only move a very low volume of air. This is the complete opposite to a dust collector, which moves high volumes of air at lower pressures. The higher pressure enables you to be able to suck up water with this, which is cool. This is limited to only being able to hook up to one tool at a time. You would not be able to hook this up to any sort of ducting system. And so that makes it a little bit more laborious to use because you have to hook it up to each individual thing. They're only good for very fine dust producing items like a sander, for example. Any of your hand tools that have a small dust port on there could be used with a dust collector, a wet dry vac. The big hindrance on that too is the diameter of the hose. It is pretty small, so if you attempted to hook this up to like a planer or a joiner, it would immediately clog within 2 seconds. It just can't handle that type of work. So big shop machines are a no, small little hand stuff is a yes. These machines come stock with a paper filter that filtrates the air down to about 5 microns. At 5 microns, you can see the dust shooting out the back. So it is not filtering everything, and in fact, it is letting the most dangerous stuff, the very small stuff, out into the air, and it's blowing it out into the air, so it's moving around. That is bad. So from a health standpoint, a stock one of these is bad. Now, there are a million different accessories that they sell for these things, like this diffuser muffler type of guy. You can jam it in the back here, and it's supposed to make it quieter. It doesn't, at least not to any noticeable degree. You can, however, buy HEPA filter kits. For this rigid model here, I can spend $69, and it comes with a filter and a bag. The bag will fill up, and it is a one-use bag. So every time I fill up this volume, I have to throw that bag away. That's a really heavy long-term expense to constantly be buying these kits. The filter can last a little bit longer, but you're constantly buying the bags, and that filter has to be replaced. In addition, when you add on a HEPA filter system to this, it adds a lot of resistance to the sucking power, and so you will see a very noticeable drop in the capabilities of this machine by adding that higher level of filtration. A HEPA filter bag kit will get it down to 0.3 microns, so that is pretty good. It's 99.7%. That's the goal that we have for everything in here, by the way, in the shop. But again, high price tag. I did want to note that there are some things that we can add to both this wet dry vac as well as some of the other units along the way that will help extend the life of the filters and bags. And what we're going to do with that is a cyclone. Cyclones in these states are basically taking inspiration from the big professional units that have them built in. So when we add a cyclone in, basically this one is probably the cheapest one out there. It's the Home Depot bucket. And so what it does is you hook up your collection hose to this port. It then brings the chips in and it spins around and it forces them with gravity down into the bucket before the air then comes back up to this top port. It's going to collect a lot of your heavier, bigger chips. A lot of the fine dust type of stuff is then going to come back into your wet dry vac. But again, you're depositing less material in here, so your filter and your bag are going to last longer. What it does do, too, as a big negative, is every time you add on one of these accessories to this machine that it wasn't built around, you're putting more work onto the machine just to get the air from point A to point B. So it's going to further reduce your suction capabilities. It's also going to put more stress on the motor. You can eventually burn these motors out by having it have to perform at a higher level at all times. So just be aware of that, but you will save money by not having to empty these bags as much. On the next phase of our journey, you're starting to buy some more equipment, so like a table saw, joiner, planer, things like that, that you need a bigger machine, a dust collector, to be able to get all of that dust out of that machine at the source where it's created. The best thing you can do for cleaning is grab it as soon as it's created, rather than it just being let to go in the air and everywhere else on its own device and you clean it up later. So we have the cheapest level of dust collector here. This is a single stage, single bag unit. You're going to start off at a 4-inch hose. It will go up to 6, 8, and even bigger with dust collectors, but we now are moving a lot more air. This Harbor Freight unit moves 660 CFM. In the US here, CFM stands for cubic feet per minute of airflow. So the bigger the number, the more airflow we have going through, the more tools we can have open, the longer of a distance that we can make a run, in addition to accounting for pressure, which we'll talk about that later too. This machine is very small, and this particular one from Harbor Freight's $100. So this is a very reasonable first upgrade for a lot of people. It works. It does work. I have friends who have this that do dust collection or do woodworking, so they have this as their dust collector. If you have a very small shop like a shed shop, so this is your whole world as far as woodworking goes, you can put this under here. You can even have it hooked up to a 10-foot pipe with 3 blast gates on it. It'll work for that. Not great, but it'll work. So you can have several tools set up. The biggest issue for this machine is its design. Being that it is a single bag unit, you will suck in the air and sawdust, and then it enters this bag. This is also where the air has to come out of the machine. And so as you start putting sawdust in here, it clogs all the holes, and so your suction power will immediately start to decrease the more you fill this bag. This is a good machine to have a cyclone before you hit the machine, because you want all that material to stay out of this bag. This bag is also really annoying to, empty out, at least the one that stock comes with this. There's no zipper, so you have to get everything out this very small little hole. This bag is also only 5 microns. That is not good. That is like the paper filter on the Wed Dry Vac. So if this is what you're going to buy because of price constraint, because of size, buy an aftermarket bag on Amazon. They're 20 bucks. You can get a 1 micron bag instead of a 5 micron bag, and you will be able to keep your shop a lot cleaner by not expelling all this dust through here. I'm actually going to do a test. I'm going to do it later, but you'll see it next. I don't want to breathe in all the dust. I'm going to vacuum up some fine dust particles. We're going to see what this 5 micron bag actually does, and we're going to see the air quality change in this room. This machine, when you're looking at a bag version, you're looking at $100 to $400. They also have ones that have filter media on here, so much better as far as air purification, as well as it's filling a plastic bag afterwards rather than the filter media. Those are running like $350, $400 to $1,000. So not super cheap, but you are getting a better quality, air with that unit, and it's a lot easier to empty out than it filling up this bag. Overall, it's really the size that a lot of people are buying these for, in addition to the price point. I have a small pile of sawdust here. It's fine stuff from sanding. We're going to vacuum it up, and I'm going to take air quality readings. Right now we are at 3.6 parts per million, and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to wear PPE while I do this, and then I'm going to turn on my air scrubber and call it a night. We'll finish this video tomorrow. Can you visually see this? Wow. It is 558 parts per million. It is warning me that it is hazardous. Wow. So I ran my scrubber all night. Air's good in here. It's back down to 2 parts per million. So this 5 micron bag, this whole thing, I bought this brand new just for this video, just to use it. So I've never used this before. This was not caked with sawdust or anything. Literally, it was that small pile that went in here, and then half of that pile just came out of the bag. So literally nothing was accomplished there. I'm actually going to take it off because I want to see what it did grab out of here. Not that I'm trying to make a big dust cloud or anything. So it grabbed the bigger stuff, and there is smaller stuff in here too. If you want to buy one of these, this is fine. If you are price constrained, if you are size constrained, a whole bunch of things, but that bag, do not put the 5 micron bag in there. Throw it in the garbage the second you buy it. Spend the $20, get a finer micron bag. 1 micron is better than 5. It's not where we want to be, but it's in the right direction. And of course, wear your PPE if this is the dust collector that you're currently going to be at. All right, you're loving woodworking, you're making lots of sawdust, you're buying more tools. So now you kind of come to a fork in the road, typically, where do you invest in a larger dust collector that's more powerful, or do you go for a dust extractor? A dust extractor is the level up for a shop vac. So again, a machine that does high pressure but low airflow. So it's good for your small tools. A dust extractor is different in that it is built around good air filtration. So all the dust extractors that are out on the market, they are 0.3 micron filters. So to a level that is good, that's what we want to see. So most of us, for the longest time, it has been the Festool model that people go for. They have some mini models that are cheaper, you know, $500-ish range, but most of the models that everybody goes for is $800 to $1,000. That's a very expensive machine. So much so that I never bought one. I don't own any Festool items in here whatsoever. I just put the HEPA filter inside my rigid shop vac, and that's what I've been using when I sand. And it's not what I want to use. So rather than getting that Festool one, there is a new player on the market, and this actually complicates that decision making a little bit. Yes, this is a Harbor Freight model. And while some of the other Harbor Freight models I'm talking about, I'm not talking about in the best light, this one, this is very cool. I bought this for me with my own money. This is now in my setup. It just came out. It's Harbor Freight's Dust Extractor, and it's $299. So definitely the right price. I'm very excited by it. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't have the beautiful hose that the Festool comes with. It's got a very plasticky hose, but you know what? I care about the safety aspect of it. I don't really care about the functionality for the most part on it. So with this model, the main thing is it has dual filtration. So when we pop this open, we have two 0.3 micron filters built into this unit. It is made to run with this unit, and we also have our 0.3 micron filtration bags in here. So these two things together, yes, it is an expendable as we talked about, but the machine is built to run like this 100% of the time, so you are going to get top-rated suction power out of this while that stuff is in effect. You're not going to see the same dip that you would see with a shop vac. And at this Harbor Freight price, you're now not at such a crazy investment like you were with the Festool. Frankly, I would use that savings to go buy a much better sander that has, you know, a lot more surface hole area so that the dust collection is better off of it. Maybe the Festool sander. But hook it up to this guy because now you have an affordable, good filtration system. Dust extractors also come with two really unique features compared to a shop vac. Number one, you see here it says automatic filter cleaning. So as I'm running this dust extractor, every once in a while it will reverse and blow instead of suck. And that action, just for a split second, won't cause particles to come out, but what it will do is shoot all of the dust off of those two filters inside the unit. Another thing that's very interesting is it has an electrical outlet port on here. So if we have a tool that runs off of a plug, like this small sander here, whenever I turn this sander on, it will automatically turn this unit on if I have the on button over to this thing. So let's give it a shot. And so now this is an automatic function. This will stay on for about another 10 to 15 seconds after the tool shuts off. I just didn't want you to have to listen to that for a long time. This is awesome if you're just going to have a sanding station and it's just going to be a sander hooked up to this machine. Every single time you kick it on, it's going to turn on too. Let's go ahead and run that same test. So I have a small pile of sawdust. Let's go ahead and suck it up. We'll see if we get any changes to our air reading. We're at 4.4 million right now. So right in front of the exhaust, it's not changing. It's still 4.4. So there we go. We didn't see any change in the air quality right now. We stayed the exact same. That's what we want. That's what we want out of all of our machines if we can afford to do so. So as far as the market versus a shop vac goes now, with this being at $299, if you can save your pennies, skip the shop vac, I would move over to this one right away now that this is on the market. And hopefully this drives down the price of the competitors too, because now there's a good affordable dust extractor on the market. As we move up the dust collector ladder, we move over to this style of collector. This is the Harbor Freight model that I've owned for 4 years. I never actually had the small one. I went straight to this one. And it's because of price. Lots of people buy this because it is $2.99 and you can even get it for $1.99 with a coupon sometimes. So cheap, cheap, cheap. Basically, we're looking at the exact same model that we had over here. We have a impeller. This one is 2 horsepower, so it is more powerful than the other one. And then instead of just filling up the filter bag right here, it has a 2-part system. So now it goes down to this collection bag, and the filter bag up top is for the air circulation and breathing of the unit. This right here is really all we've added, and it's kind of a cyclone. It's meant to separate the chips down and the air up, but it's not a true cyclone system like you would see in more professional units. This is a good option if you can't afford anything else. There are lots of people that are excited for this. I was excited when I bought this because I was like, oh, all right, I got much better dust collection. I have much better media on this than I had without a dust collector before, so it was a cool purchase for me. I was excited. But in all honesty, this does not have what we should be achieving, which is the 0.3 micron filtration. This came with the same 5 micron bag. Throw it in the garbage right away. Don't use it. This is the aftermarket 1 micron bag, which is better than the 5, but it's still not all the way, and we'll test that in a minute. This unit is dirty. It is something that I loathe to clean out. You have to wear full respirator when you clean this thing out, and you're just trying to get it out of the shop and do it outside because it is messy. You need to replace this bag frequently because even though you try to clean it, you might try and shop back the inside or just beat it with a stick. It's not going to come clean enough, and this filter, when you start to close all these pores up, it's not going to operate as well. It has no mechanism to clean this either. That is a big thing. In other better hobbyist small shop dust collectors of this range, some of them have cleaning mechanisms, and of course you see that in professional ones. For me, I added in a homemade DIY 50-gallon barrel that, you know, I kind of made my own little cyclone on here. It's a kit that you can buy, and it does work. It's not as good as a real cyclone. But all the big chips went in here. It still sent the smaller debris to the bag over here, but at least it elongated the time for me before I had to clean this out. So that is good. The bad is this is way too big. You shouldn't be using a 50-gallon with this. It really cuts down the suction power. So much so that I had ducting going through here over to my table saw. It was 50 feet when you add it all together, and I wasn't pulling enough suction power over at the table saw. Eventually, I ended up ripping it all out, running the hose directly over to it. It did better, but it still wasn't enough. So this is still primarily rated for one tool at a time. If you're going to add some ducting to it, one wall is good. I have a 25 by 25 foot 2-car garage. It is not powerful enough to be able to run ducting through here. I've tried. It's just not there. So if you want to be able to fully duct your space, this is not powerful enough. There are other models at this category that have filtered, pleated media on here instead of one of these bags. Those are better. You will typically run at this stage of dust collector from, $300 up to $700 or $800, and then after that we move to the pro level. But let's go ahead and test this 1 micron filter media. All right, so we got up to 9 while this was running. We're back down to 3.7 now, about a minute after we finished. We weren't vacuuming up a ton of material here, but a 1 micron is not perfect. We are still letting particles out. I could visibly see them floating in the air still. So we really want to get down to that 0.3 microns that HEPA and other professional grade machines are producing. So when do you get a professional grade dust collection system? Well, I see 2 main ways. One, you are one of those people where you do not want to incrementally buy equipment. You want to save your pennies right off the bat, and you want to just buy the best all the time, or just maybe you're financially capable of doing so. So awesome. That is a cool path. But for most people, it's going to be when you start making money with your woodworking. When you have money coming in, you can then reinvest in yourself and your business. And so typically you'll end up having, even garage sale purchased used stuff throughout the entire shop. And then once you have money coming in, and it's actually a serious thing that you're looking at, you reinvest in some really nice equipment that's more powerful, that is going to increase your productivity and just enjoyment. I know there are a lot of sexy tools out there that I see that I'm like, man, I really, really want to buy that thing right now. And a dust collector might not be a sexy tool in some ways. It's not a CNC machine that's going to be able to make things for you. But it is going to keep you from, getting lung issues, or at least help contribute to not getting lung issues. So I know we talk about not losing our digits all the time with saws. I'd also not like to get cancer while I'm doing my woodworking out here. So a quality dust collection system is something that you definitely want to look at as one of your first investments when you start reinvesting in yourself. When you have money coming in, you're a professional, and so it's time to get a professional dust collection system at that point. All right, so this is my new Harvey G700 dust processor. I am so excited that I have this. When it comes to professional grade dust collectors, there are a few main companies that build these, and they're very similar as far as their capabilities and the price point. So all of them will meet certain criteria, and I will go through that in a second. The one thing that's different about this machine is its form factor, and that's what really sold it for me. There was no other choice than this for me, because this is powerful enough to do everything I want here in the shop. If you know my channel, I'm obsessed with being able to better organize in a small space. And nothing says that like being able to put this in the corner of my shop with a workspace that's going to extend over it. I'm literally going to regain a huge, not even regain, I've never had it. I will be gaining a huge amount of space that I can work at and, successfully store things over on the wall with. That's fantastic. And, maybe your shop layout doesn't make sense for this right here. You can literally have it dead center in the middle of the floor, put a work table directly over top of it, and then duct straight up to the ceiling where then it branches out. You could just rely on hoses from the middle of the shop that go to each one of your tools, not as handy. Or I can actually fit this under my table saw's extension wing. It would stick out a little bit, but like good use of space, because typically you just maybe put a cabinet under there. So the form factor of this is unique and amazing to me. So that was really what drove it home for me. I've been saving my money for 7 months to buy this. So I got the news in February. It's October now. When I was just about to buy this last month, I interviewed Harvey in Atlanta, and they were like, oh, we'll send you out one. So, hey, thank you very much, Harvey. But now that allocated a whole bunch of money that I saved up that we're going to do a whole bunch of other videos for. So We're going to do the miter station next, then we're going to be doing steel ducting throughout the shop. I just bought it for $1,500. I never would have been able to afford that otherwise. So we're going to take a look at how I design that out. We're going to do automatic blast gates for the system. So as soon as you turn on your tools, the dust collector will turn on, the blast gates will open. We're going to buy a better air scrubber, and we're even going to experiment with some downdraft table stuff. I'm going to try and build my own. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is all related to cleaner air, dust collection type of stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, you'll enjoy those videos as well. So let's look at all the features of a pro level machine. At the pro level, the first thing you're going to experience is more power. And more power means being able to duct a larger area and adequately pull from those machines. But you're also going to have multiple machines that are able to have open blast gates at the same time. So this is Harvey's lowest grade professional level dust collector. And it's more than what I need in here. This is rated for up to like a 3-car shop. And I wanted to be able to at least run 2 tools at the same time, which this will more than happily do for me. And that's because I have a CNC machine. When you run a CNC, it can take hours for your job to complete. And while it's doing that, you can go do other stuff. So with my old dust collector, I could only hook up to 1 machine at a time. And if I had it hooked up to my dust collector, I wouldn't be able to then hook it up to my table saw and whatever else I'm working on. So now I'm going to be able to have my CNC in on my system too, which I never had before. So I'm very happy for that. I had a Wed Dry Vac hooked up to that and super noisy. So now I am able to achieve this with this machine. This now has 1110 CFM, but it also has higher static pressure than what we experienced with my other dust collectors. We had high static pressure with your dust extractor and your Wed Dry Vac. You didn't have it until now. It's starting to go up. As you go up in professional level machines, that static pressure will continue to rise, and that's what enables you to run longer runs of ducting in your shop. Pro level machines are a lot quieter, so even though this is so much more powerful than my last machine, it came with 2 remotes, by the way, which is nice. I've kicked it on, and using its variable speed dial, I have it at low right now, and I really don't have to raise my voice to talk to you. You can, of course, hear it, but I'm literally against the machine right now. So for a majority of my machines, this is going to be a setting that's fine. When I'm hooking up something like a planer or a joiner and it's through ductwork on the other side of my machine, I can always crank this up, and then we get more to a little bit of a jet engine, but the power is there. Woo! That's a lot of fucking power. I'm going to turn it down so you can hear me. This machine also has a pressure gauge here, so this is super invaluable to me. When I set up all of my ductwork, I can actually test things out and see that I'm not maxing out the capabilities of my dust collection. Additionally, it also works to let you know if you have a clog in your system too. So if you're not actually doing anything and this gauge is going super high, you know you got an issue somewhere in the line and you need to take things apart to clean it out. This also has an alarm on here too if the dust bins become full. All pro level machines have dust separation before it gets to the filter. Most use the Cyclone. It looks like a cone shape attached to the unit. The Harvey uses dual gyros, so these are horizontal units, not vertical. And so the dust and the air comes in and it splits, going to 2 identical tracks, and immediately the bigger chips go down into this port into a collection bin. There's a cool viewing port here so you can watch it happen. Then all of these smaller chips, they pass through what looks like a jet engine, and what it does is it then starts spinning the air inside, and the centrifugal forces are going to pin the dust against the side of the cylinder as it moves down, and then when it gets over here, it's going to force it down into this drop, which is again another collection area for finer dust. If it were to get past this stage, you then move to the 2 0.3 micron filters at the end of the unit. If the dust makes it to the end, we have dual filters here. So 2 filters, you have more surface area around here for operation, so that's good. These red knobs are manual cleaners for these filters. So inside it basically has a metal rake that it spins around on all the pleats and it knocks all that fine dust loose. that got collected on the pleat. So it just falls down here, and I can vacuum that out every once in a while. This is going to keep my machine functioning at its full peak efficiency because it is able to breathe. On our bagged units, when it filled up with dust, you had to take it outside and beat it with a stick and vacuum it out, get full of dust, and you're still probably not going to be back at full power like you are with these guys. So this is a very clean way to clean out your filters. You're going to have a much cleaner experience with professional grade machines. Most will have a barrel at the bottom that's 25 to 55 gallons, so you can kind of choose based on the model that you buy. This one has a 35-gallon bay, so it lowers down, and this becomes my rails for my little cart here to pull out on. And so I have two bays here. One is for fine chips, one is for bigger chips. You can use filter bags or like collection bags if you want to, liners. So then you just pull these out, tie it up while it's still here, locking all the dust inside, and go throw it away so you don't have to breathe it in. These have gaskets around here so that it gets a good seal up on the machine at the top too. So there's also the alarm that tells me when these are full. So much better with this than the bag that I had to take outside, and just, it's hazardous. So this is a much cleaner, safer cleaning experience. All right, in the shop right now, I'm at 0.7 down low at the ground here by the dust collector. I'm gonna do our typical test with this pile of fine dust. No change. All right, so that was dust collection. There's so much more to cover. I tried to give a good generalized overview. Hopefully you got some good information if you're newer to dust collection. The big things: wear your PPE. Wear it more than you've been wearing it. And definitely don't ignore your dust collection. Don't ignore like dust extractors, especially now there's that cheap one out there. You want to have as clean of environment for you as possible. We focus on not cutting our fingers off. Well, let's also focus on making sure we're not breathing in that sawdust too. I'm Justin from Bittner Built. If you got good content, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button so you know when the rest of our videos come out. We got a ton of dust collector videos coming out pretty soon, like accessories and whatnot. Stay safe in the shop. I'll see you in the next one.